Marvel Television's Wonder Man, an 8-episode series, now streaming on Disney+.
A superhero remake, not exactly what we'd expect from an Oscar-winning director.
Action! Simon Williams, audition for Wonder Man.
I'm gonna need you to sign this, assuming you don't have superpowers.
I'll never work again if anyone found out.
My lips are sealed.
Marvel Television's Wonder Man. All 8 episodes now streaming, only on Disney+.
All right, now before we jump into the episode, I do just want to give a disclaimer because I was politely corrected and I did mispronounce Juve. So just so we don't have any problems going forward, I just want you to know that I am now aware that it's Juve and I did pronounce it wrong in the episode. So I hope you enjoy the episode. What's up, cousins? Welcome back to One Bad Night, the Melanin Mystery spinoff where we talk about the nights that things went completely to hell. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm Tiffany, aka Detective Lightskinn. And if you've been over here before, then you already know the assignment. Every episode starts the same way. Somebody gets dressed, somebody maybe calls an Uber, somebody maybe takes a selfie. Sometimes somebody tells their mama, cousin, homegirl, boyfriend, baby daddy, I'll see you later. And then somebody goes out and acts a goddamn fool. Because cousins, the stories that we cover over here are not lifelong beefs. They aren't people plotting for 6 months. These are the nights where one stupid decision, one bruised ego, one unnecessary reaction changes everything. And baby, tonight's case is exactly that. Because when I tell y'all this story irritated my spirit, y'all know I mean it. The kind of irritated where you're listening and halfway through the story, you got to pause and stare at the wall. The kind of irritated where you keep saying, that's it. That's what we were fighting over. The kind of irritated where you realize somebody lost their life because another person couldn't find 37 cents worth of self-control. Tonight, we're talking about Reginald Moyes and Tiaran Poyau. So we have one young lady, one young man, a parade, a celebration, and one completely avoidable situation. And by the time the night was over, one family was grieving and another family was preparing to watch their loved one get led away in handcuffs. All because somebody's ego showed up before their common sense did. Now, y'all, I'm not in the mood to argue with nobody today. So go ahead, grab your drink, grab your snack, get comfortable, and let me tell you what happened. All right, so we are headed to Brooklyn, New York. The date is September 5th, 2016. The sun ain't even fully up yet, and thousands of people are already getting ready for Jouvert. I think that's how you say it, Jouvert. I took French for 4 years. You would never damn know it. Now, for those of y'all who aren't familiar, Jouvert is a huge Caribbean celebration, music, dancing, culture, food, flags everywhere. People representing where they're from. Supposed to be a beautiful time. Heavy on the supposed to be. But by 2016, Jouvert had developed a reputation that was starting to make folks clutch their pearls and check their life insurance policies before leaving the house. And no, I'm not being dramatic. Between 2014 and 2016, there had been 5 murders, 8 shooting incidents, a stabbing, and at one point, Andrew Cuomo, one of his aides, got hit with a stray bullet and he died. So you see what I'm saying. Now, if the governor's people are catching random bullets, what exactly are we doing here? Because at that point, the festival wasn't just making headlines, it's collecting criminal charges. Matter of fact, the week before the event, Mayor Bill de Blasio was reportedly debating whether the city should shut down the whole goddamn parade. And listen, for real, I know people, you love tradition and people love culture. And of course, folks love a good party. But if I walk into a meeting and somebody says, well, we've had 5 murders, multiple shooting, a stabbing, and a government aide got shot to death, my next sentence is not going to be, well, let's see how this year goes. No, the answer is canceled. Let's pack it up. Everybody go home. We'll try again next year. Maybe. But no. The city decided the festival would move forward. And every time I cover these type of cases, I swear it's like watching a horror movie. You know the part where the audience is screaming at the television, like, don't go in there, don't open that door, don't split up. That's me right now. Because the city looked at all those warning signs and basically said, well, good luck, y'all. Now, here we are going to enter 22-year-old Tiaran Poyau. And this is the crazy part because sis wasn't even planning on going. And for real, it was because of the danger. And for real, I don't blame her. At this point, Jovier was like getting a reputation for being the place where you might leave with memories or a police report or a death certificate. But somewhere along the line, plans changed. Maybe a friend convinced her, or maybe she had a last minute invite. Maybe she thought, it's just one day. It's gonna be fine. And that's what I need y'all to remember. Somebody always says it's gonna be fine. But you know how like that inner voice be like, don't do it. And every time you ignore that inner voice, something bad happens. Yeah. My older years, I started to listen to that voice. Now, those four little words have introduced some of the worst decisions in human history. Nobody ever says, I'm about to go make a terrible choice that destroys multiple lives. No, people just say, it'll be fine. And that's exactly how Tiaran ended up at a festival she wasn't even planning to attend. And a decision that seemed completely harmless at the time will put her in the same place as a stranger named Reginald Moyse. And before the sun came up, one family would be planning a funeral and another family would be watching their loved one get arrested. And everybody involved will be asking themselves the same question. Was one night out worth all of this? So look, it's 4:15 in the morning, and Tiaran, she's out with her friends enjoying Jovier. She's walking, she's talking, she's having a good time, minding the business that pays her. And here comes some raggedy, rusty, ankled ass nigga deciding he's about to start dancing on her. Now, ew. Let me stop right here. Because why are you touching people? Why are you grinding on me? Sir, I don't know you. Who raised y'all? I don't know what kind of magical coochie seeking GPS some of these men be operating on, but if nobody invited you over here, why are you over here? And Tiaran, she wasn't having it at all. I don't blame her, because ew. Like before Nicki Minaj lost her mind, she said, like a bum trying to touch me. Ew. Like, ew, barf. And basically she hit him with the universal language of leave me the fuck alone. Get off me. That's it. That's sweet. That's the conversation. That's where the interaction should have ended. Okay, let me actually back up a little bit. The interaction should have never started. But since it did, get off me should have been the end of it. No, her friends say they heard her tell him to get off of her. Now, depending on which story you hear, it was they heard that their night went on, and then they were walking ahead of her, and the next thing they knew they heard was a gunshot. Or other reports say they heard her say, ew, get off me. And then they heard a gunshot. So I'm not exactly sure which version happened, but any which way, get off me turns into a gunshot. Can y'all imagine that? You're out with your friend, you're having a ball, music is playing, people are everywhere, and you're annoyed because some random rusty tailed nigga can't keep his hands to himself. And before anybody can even process what's happening, boom, this poor baby drops to the ground. And you know how this goes. It's a crowd, so people are panicking and screaming and running because nobody even understands what's happening yet. But her friends just know that their friend is on the ground. All because she had the audacity, and I'm being sarcastic, to tell a strange motherfucker to get the fuck off of her. Like, this is what we're doing? This is what we're doing today? Because every time I tell one of these stories, y'all, I start to discover a brand new level of male entitlement that I didn't even know existed. You mean to tell me a woman doesn't want a stranger rubbing all over her and your response is violence? You could have just walked away. I get you might have been embarrassed or rejected, but you had to shoot the poor lady? And like I said, she did not know this man. She did not owe this man a conversation. She didn't owe this man that. She didn't owe this man shit. If you want to be real. But somehow her saying no turned into a death sentence. And this is why nobody understands why women are scared. We're scared to tell you no when you ask for our number. We're scared to tell you no because it might turn into violence. I don't owe you anything. You're not entitled to my number. Maybe I don't want you to have my number. And it's at the point where we're giving out our numbers and blocking you because we're scared that something like this may happen. So, if you can't tell, we only a few minutes into this story, and I'm annoyed and I'm aggravated and I'm hot. This margarita kicking in. And I'm hot. Shoot. Oh, I hope menopause ain't starting early. I'm too young for that. But before we go any further, we need to talk about who Tiaran was. Because one thing we are not going to do over here is let somebody become just another headline. Tiaran Poyau, she was born April 29th, 1994, to her parents, Bertina Brown and Mitchell Poyau. Now, I couldn't find a lot of information about her childhood, but baby, once sis got to adulthood, when I say she was flourishing, I mean it. Like, first of all, we gotta address the obvious. This girl was freaking gorgeous. Like, I mean, literally gorgeous. The kind of beautiful where people post your picture after you pass and everybody collectively just says, damn. But the thing was, she wasn't just beautiful. The girl was smart as hell. At 22, she had just graduated from college and she had earned her master's degree in accounting from St. John's University. Hello, a master's degree at 22. Meanwhile, I know people who are still trying to decide what they want to be when they grow up and they're 40. Mhm. And she wasn't just collecting degrees to hang on a wall. She had already had her landed her first accounting job and she was ready to start the next chapter of her life. The chapter that she worked and sacrificed her ass off for. The chapter filled with all the things that she'd been planning and dreaming about. And that's seriously like what breaks my heart in some of these cases because when we hear somebody think 22, like she was young, but what we don't always think about is how much life was sitting in front of her, the trips she hadn't taken yet, the places she hadn't seen, the people she had never met, the family that she might have had one day, the life that she just started building. And speaking of traveling, baby, she was my type of girl because she was outside. Sis has studied abroad in Paris, in Rome. Like, I hope to get there one day. Meanwhile, some of us trying to figure out if we're financially stable enough to add guacamole to our order. But one thing about me, I don't give a damn. I'm going to take that trip. But like I said, Tiaran, when she was collecting passport stamps, she was living her life and experiencing the world. And I love that. Like, I really feel like our young kids, like, instead of having kids early like we did, take that time to find yourself, travel the world, see what else is out there. Not something that I regret having kids early, but I wish I would have done it differently. But, you live and you learn. Things happen. And look, her friends and family described her as adventurous. They described her as fearless. And I ain't talking about adventurous. They weren't talking about trying a new appetizer at Applebee's. They said this girl loved hiking mountains. That is not a melanated activity. Just saying. And if that was enough, she loved skydiving. Skydiving isn't like willingly jumping out of a plane, baby. I'm sorry. After Trevor, can't never do it. Y'all remember what happened to Trevor. So, the Lord gave birds wings for a reason, and I respect his designs, but that's how Tiaran was. She was fearless, she was curious, she was always looking for the next adventure, always ready to experience something new. Just a beautiful spirit with her entire future stretched out in front of her. And that's what pisses me the fuck off about this whole situation because she wasn't somebody heading down the wrong path or looking for trouble or even involved in some bullshit ass beef. This was a young woman who did everything people tell you you're supposed to do because she got the education, she worked hard, she chased opportunities, she saw the world, she was building her future, and it was all taking away over a rusty ass neck nigger. And to make what was so bad about this is nobody could even ID the shooter. People heard the gunshots, they saw her fall, people were running and screaming, but the person responsible had like disappeared into the crowd. He left behind a devastated family, heartbroken friends in the city trying to figure out who has stolen the life of a young woman who should have had decades left to live. Her family has no idea what's about to happen. Her friends are traumatized. And like I said, that shooter is in the wind. So investigators are basically looking for a needle in a haystack. And at this point, it looks like whoever did this might actually get away. But God. but God. What they didn't know was a shooter was out here conducting himself like the lead character in Brooklyn's Dumbest Criminal Olympics. Enter 20-year-old Reginald Moyes. Now, I need y'all to put y'all snacks down because this next part is just so ridiculous, it almost sounds fake. But I promise you, it's not. So around 8 o'clock that morning, police see a gray Ford Explorer, but they noticed something ain't right. They said this man was on three wheels. Literally, three of them. One wheel is somewhere in Brooklyn living its own life, and this fool is still driving. I don't know what type of determination that takes. I don't know what kind of alcohol was involved. I don't know what conversation this man had to himself, but at no point did he apparently think, you know what? Maybe this ain't my day to drive. Nah, y'all. He had the pedal to the floor, just dragging city parts through New York like he got somewhere important to be. And when police finally stopped him near Parkside Avenue and Murray Place, they discover that he's allegedly drunk. I mean, are you surprised? But drunk enough that he had also crashed into several parked cars. Which tracks because if you're driving on three wheels, you've already told the world that your decision making is not your spiritual gift. But wait, because God was not done embarrassing him just yet. Police also knows he's got a Caribbean flag wrapped around his hands. I'm going to say that one more time. He has a Caribbean flag wrapped around his hand. And I know I keep repeating that, but I need y'all to picture this. We have a drunk man driving a busted ass Ford Explorer on three wheels that had plowed into parked cars with a flag wrapped around an injured hand, looking like the final boss of Poor Choices. What in the unlocked GTA mission is happening? And here's what kills me. You know, most criminals, after allegedly committing a murder, try and lay low, hide, disappear, possibly not draw attention to themselves. You know what? Not Reggie. Not good old ashy neck Reggie. You know, possibly Reggie thought, you know what really helped this situation? A drunk driving arrest. But wait, because I'm not done telling y'all about Ashy Nose Reggie. Because this is where the story goes from ridiculous to absolutely absurd. After the shooting, they found out that Reggie had reportedly went to his girlfriend's apartment. Now, if you're thinking this is where he maybe sat down and reflected on his actions, if you're thinking this is where common sense has finally entered the chat, you must be new here. Because according to investigators, while at the apartment, this fool allegedly fired the gun again and again and again and again. Now, listen, I have said this before because everybody gets one stupid decision, maybe two. This man was collecting stupid decisions like he was collecting Pokemon cards. You already allegedly shot somebody. The city is looking for a shooter, and your next move is to do more shooting in an apartment, like into the walls at the apartment. You want to be caught, don't you? You do. Matter of fact, don't answer that because apparently the answer was yes. So police are able to recover the gun, and once they get hands on it, baby, it was curtains. So, you know, of course, they're gonna run that for testing. And spoiler alert, that gun told everything. It was singing soprano. The gun was giving a full TED talk. The gun basically sat investigators down like, let me say, explain to you what had happened and what you're looking for. But anyway, while Reggie is sitting in custody over the drunk driving arrest because detectives tracked him down, not because detectives tracked him down, not because he was some criminal mastermind finally caught after months on the run. No, because he literally crash tested his way into police custody. So it's a little quick little recap here. Woman gets shot, shooter disappears and allegedly fires the gun again. Then he wraps it in a flag and he's drunk and he crashes into multiple cars. Then he loses a wheel. Then he keeps on driving. Then he gets arrested and somehow thought this is all going according to what plan, I ask you. I'm exhausted. I can't. And we haven't gotten to the trial yet. Because stupidity burned calories, this man would have left Brooklyn looking like a fitness model. So when they had finally got his into custody, this man was drunker than a wine auntie at a family reunion. And I know some of y'all are thinking, well, how drunk was he? Y'all, I said the man was driving a gray Ford Explorer through Brooklyn on three wheels. Do we really need to know anything more? One wheel had already resigned from the situation. The truck was beat the hell up. Several parked cars had been victimized, and he had a Caribbean flag wrapped around his injured hands. And somehow his drunk ass thought he was fit to operate a motor vehicle. At that point, forget a breathalyzer. I would have just pointed to the truck and said, "Sir, explain yourself." Now, once police got him to the precinct and was questioning him, this fool, he starts talking. Why are you talking? Shut up. But sometimes God will put the answers right in front of investigators because during his questioning, he reportedly told detectives, "Well, I think I shot somebody. I think I did. I think the gun went off. I don't know. It might have been loaded, but I'm not sure." What do you mean you weren't sure? How are you the one confused? Didn't you had a gun? Didn't you pull the trigger? Did you not see the lady fall down? But somehow you got questioned. I need you to come back to earth, young man. Cause ain't no way. Then I guess I don't know if he sobered up a little bit or anything, but he suddenly remembered he had rights and he requested an attorney. Now that part he remembered. The interview ended and police ended up charging him with second-degree murder, criminal possession of a weapon, and reckless endangerment. And honestly, if the story ended there, it would just be enough at this point. But unfortunately, the foolishness was just getting started because sadly, Tiaran wasn't the only victim that morning. There was a 17-year-old man named Tyreek Borrell who had also been shot and killed before the festival even officially started. 17, a baby. Police didn't have a suspect at the time of his murder. There was also at this festival a 72-year-old woman shot, a 20-year-old man was shot. Thankfully, both of them survived. And there were other reports of a man and a woman being stabbed. Thankfully, those injuries weren't fatal. And I didn't know at what point did we stop calling this a festival and start calling it a group project and poor decision making. It should have been canceled. This is all in one night. We have 2 fatalities, 2 shootings, and 2 stabbings. It's doing too much. Let this shit go. I'm sorry, but let that shit go. Because at this point, what exactly are we celebrating? I need to know. The streets look like everybody's collectively forgot to know how to act. And at this point, Jover needs to be wrapped up, folded up, packed up, and sent back to the manufacturer for quality control immediately. Because the crime was just ridiculous. Meanwhile, like I said, all this chaos is happening. And we actually don't know what ends up happening to that 17-year-old if his murderer was caught. But fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know. Reginald was not the killer in that situation. And Tiaran's family is dealing with the only thing that actually matters, that their daughter is gone. She was an only child. And now they're planning a funeral instead of celebrating her new career. A GoFundMe raised over $8,000 to help her send her home properly. She was laid to rest at St. Rita's Roman Catholic Church in East New York. And every time I read that part, I get irritated all over again because this woman had just earned her master's and had landed her first accounting job. And now her family was picking out funeral arrangements over a dusty ass nigga who wanted to grind on her, and she said, "Ew, get off me." Now, let's touch base on Reginald. It ain't much to tell. Not that we care, but he was born January 5th, 1996, and he was only 20 years old when this went down. But apparently, criminal behavior wasn't exactly a brand new hobby because he already had 5 juvenile arrests at 20. Now, those arrests were sealed, so I can't tell you exactly what they had to do with, but at 20, that's not wrong place, wrong time. That's a recurring subscription. And at his arraignment, Reginald pled not guilty. And when I tell you Miss Vertina Brown was in that courtroom, Tiaran's mother, the mother of an only child, and when she heard all that nonsense, she literally told that man to go kill himself. And that is a direct quote. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong either. But what I am saying is that grief does not come with a customer service voice. That woman had lost her only child she would ever have because you couldn't take your rusty, crusty, backward ass ankles on because you wanted to grind on the lady that, ew, don't touch me. I don't know. The one thing that I loved about COVID was that 6 feet. Can we bring that back? Don't touch me. Ew. I don't know. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like, I don't like random men touching me. I don't like random people touching me. Just weird. Personal space boundaries. So anyway, sorry, off track. Now, like I said, that was the only child this lady had. And now she's sitting there looking at the man accused of taking her from her. Reginald, like I said, he was held without bail and he was facing 25 years to life. When the case finally did go to trial, I'm not going to bore y'all with all the stupid details because it was stupid. Prosecutors pushed for second-degree murder, but the jury didn't go there. But they did convict him of criminally negligent homicide, criminal possession of a weapon, reckless endangerment, and operating a motor vehicle while under the influence of alcohol and drugs, which honestly sounds like a list of charges created by somebody spinning the wheel of bad decisions. And during sentencing, Bertina told the court, quote, "She was my only child and I'm forever scarred by this and I'm asking for the maximum." And for real, that statement hit harder than anything I could ever say. And, Reginald gave his little sorry ass apology to the family. The judge listened. I don't want to hear your apology. You can take that apology and shove it up your ass. And then the judge basically summarized the entire case in one sentence. He described Reginald's behavior as Jovier as acts of idiocy. I mean, I don't see the lie. Y'all see the lie. I don't see the lie. Because from the moment this story started, every decision got dumber than the one before it. And the judge also said that Reginald destroyed a promising life and he foreclosed all of Tiaran's possibilities. And that part hurts. But not just what happened, but everything that never got the chance to happen. Promotions, marriages, family adventures, the life she worked so hard to build, gone. And Reginald, his dusty ass was sentenced to 17 and a half years in state prison. That wasn't enough, if you ask me. He should have gotten a year for every year that she could have possibly lived. And she's missing out. But he did later appeal. They said we don't give a fuck, denied. And today he's serving his sentence at Auburn Correctional Facility. He will be eligible for parole July 2031. His maximum release date is January 3rd, 2034. And that is where this story leaves us. One woman who should be here is not, and one family is forever changed, and one fool is sitting in prison because he couldn't handle being told to leave somebody alone. Because get the fuck off me is a complete sentence. So, thank y'all for staying with me for another episode of One Bad Night, a Melanin Mysteries mini-series. I am your host, Tiffany, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you're enjoying, I would so very much appreciate a 5-star review wherever you are listening. I would also love to hear your comments, ideas on this case. Do you think Reginald got enough time? Because I really don't. And how do y'all feel about people grinding on you? Do you like it? Because I don't like it. If you can't figure it out, I don't like to be touched. So that being said, all right, I will catch y'all for another full episode of Melanin Mysteries. And until then, be safe. And don't go around grinding on people because you might get kicked in your ass, if not worse. Talk to y'all later.